How you doing, MS Rockstars? Coach Justin here, discussing injury prevention today, particularly getting to some of the questions that you've had. So we're 4 or 5 weeks into the training program now, and from San Diego to Arizona to Vermont, and we've had a lot of great questions coming in about training. So today I figured I'd take a few minutes to go through the most commonly asked questions I've gotten to date, which relates mostly to injury prevention. Specifically, the question of how do I get faster, lose weight, train more, all without getting hurt? And that's a very common question asked amongst any new half marathoners for full marathoners. We'll also discuss a little bit about soreness versus injury. When should you just suck it up, and then when should you actually go seek some help for an injury? We'll talk a little bit about cross training, active rest versus long rest, and then the ever popular question of how long should my longest run be? So backing up a little bit, how do you get faster, lose weight, get in better shape, do more training volume, do more intensity, all without getting hurt? And the short answer to that is listen to your coaches. So we've put together a very quality training program. You have great area coaches. If you're not in one of our 4 or 5 main areas, we have myself and Maureen who are there to help you out, answer some questions about the program. Sometimes when it comes to training, less is more. And what I mean by that is not don't just train 1 to 2 days a week, but the more volume, the more intensity, the more duration, the more we pack on the mileage, the tougher it is for us to recover. And when we cannot be fully recovered even though we don't feel sore. And I think that's a real important point to drive home, that you can run, let's say 8 miles on Saturday, you're sore a little bit on Sunday and sore a little bit on Monday, Tuesday you feel fine. There may still be some lingering damage to the muscles, to the joints, to the cardiovascular system on Tuesday, even though you don't feel it. So proper rest is much more important than even your longest run. So that's why we build in cross training. That's why we build in total rest days, and that's why we build in active rest days. Soreness versus injury. Soreness is expected from strength training, from new cardio, from if you're used to running on flat and then you run hills, or if you're used to running and then you start hiking. Any new activity is what really gets the body sore. And soreness is good. It lets us know that we worked out. Lets us feel like we actually accomplished something. And it is our body's way of telling us to back off a little bit. If you're sore, it's actually good to do some very light activity, what we call that active rest. So maybe a yoga or Pilates class, walking, swimming, cycling, and stretching. All of those are great activities when you're sore. It'll help to loosen up the joints, but don't do, excuse me, but don't do too much. Again, listen to your body when it comes to that. If your soreness lasts more than 4 or 5 days, then that's probably pain and not sore. If your muscles are sore, that's probably from a workout. If your joints are sore, your knees, your low back, your toes, your fingers, your feet, your shoulders, that may be a little bit more on the pain scale rather than the soreness scale. Once again, excuse me. So if that lingers 4 or 5 days and doesn't really subside early on in a workout, that's another key that you maybe do need to see something like a physical therapist or see your doctor. If you're in San Diego, Rehab United's a great place to visit. So if you also have that lingering stuff for more than 2 weeks, that's when you really need to go see somebody if the pain doesn't go away with that warm up, with that stretching. So anywhere in that 5 days to 2 weeks, stuff should go away. If it doesn't, go get some help. Cross training. Your goal is to run a half marathon or a half marathon relay or a full marathon. So the majority of your training should be sport specific, meaning that you're on your feet running. We should have quality workouts. So that means at least 1 tempo run per week, which is slightly above race pace, at least 1 interval workout or a track workout or a hill workout, all fits into that interval, and then your longer run, which is that time on feet. Outside of that, we could have 1 to 2 other running days, other cardio days, strength training days, and that's your cross training. You shouldn't spend all of your time cross training, but if your goal is just finish, any movement, any activity is positive activity, is quality activity. As I said, anything that elevates the heart rate, anything that simulates the intensity you're going to compete in on race day on January 20th is appropriate cross training. But if I had to prioritize, I'd say the most important aspects: your rest, making sure that you get your rest, your 3 quality runs per week, strength training and stretching, and then that other group: swimming, walking, cycling, going to the gym and doing the elliptical. Those all fall within that 4th category. So those other 3, the strength training, the quality running, and your rest, are actually your most important aspects to improving as well as not getting hurt. I also recommend going to watch the video on injury prevention, talk a little bit more about defining intensity, duration, frequency, as well as how we can active rest and how we can back down in our unloading weeks. Let's see, 2 other questions. Pacing, we're going to get to. Coach Vic has a great training tip for you coming next week when we could talk about the difference between tempo versus long run versus interval training. And the last question is, how long should my longest run be? I want the 13.1 or the 26.2 to seem easy, so doesn't that mean I should do more distance? And the answer to that is no. Physiologically, for a half marathon, there's no point in going over 10 miles. Physiologically, for a full marathon, there's no point in going over 18. Mentally, there may be a benefit. So if you're running your first full marathon, I do recommend going up to 20, maybe a little bit over 20 miles once. Because once again, it's going to take your body a long time to recover. If you run that 22 miles on Saturday, Tuesday or Wednesday, you feel good again, but there's probably 2 or 3 weeks of damage that occurred to your body that takes more time to recover from. Likewise, if you've never run more than 8 miles and you do a 12 or a 13 mile a few weeks before your first half marathon, it's still going to take that 10 days, 2 weeks or so to get full recovery. So if we're not fully recovered and we start working out again, that's what leads us to injury. Now on the opposite side, if we wait every single time until we're 100% recovered, we're never going to get in better shape. So I can't put any percentages on it, but we need to be recovered enough to have a quality workout, but not completely rest that we lose fitness. So how long should your longest run be? For a half marathon, anywhere between 8 to 10 miles of quality running is enough. For a full, anywhere between 16 and 20 is really enough to get you there. So those are a few points. As I said, we're going to follow up with some great tips from Coach Vic next week. And then I also recommend, if you haven't watched it, going back and looking at the injury prevention, which goes into a little more detail about some of these topics. So jrobinson@rehabunited.com. Shoot me an email and we'll try to do another one of these videos in 2 weeks. Till then, keep training hard and keep having fun. Most importantly, thanks for doing what you do.